This is the plaintiff, Starlia Dormius. She says she was arrested for speeding and thrown in jail. So she hired the defendant to post an $1,100 bond for her release. Unfortunately, there was a technicality, and she wasn't released. The bond never had to be placed. Now the defendant won't refund her money. She's not gonna let him steal from her and is suing for the return of her $1,150.06. This is the defendant, John Viola. He says the plaintiff was arrested for trying to stab someone. Then she violated the agreement not to contact the victim. She did and was arrested again. The plaintiff was then released and is now demanding the bond money back. Whether you're found guilty or not guilty, bonds aren't refundable. He's accused of not giving a refund.
All parties, please raise your right hands. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Dormius, you're suing your bail bondsman, your former bail bondsman, I guess, Mr. Viola, for $1,150.06 that you want refunded to you because he didn't really have to post the bond. So you're going to have to explain to me what the circumstances are here.
Yes, I had an incident that happened with a roommate where we were just getting a physical altercation, and I did call an officer to come help, and there was just a miscommunication between me and the officer. And once I got there, I was arrested, and I got to the...
Once you got where you were arrested?
Once I got to the home, once the officers came, I did get arrested there.
Okay, okay.
Yes, he said because that one that was
so
not my
what, your complaint says that you were speeding. What does that have to do with anything then?
Oh, that was an open case that I had, yes. That was the...
Right, but you weren't speeding when you got arrested. You were arrested for supposedly a physical altercation.
Yes, I was...
Was there a knife involved?
No, there was no knife involved.
Okay, so go on.
Yes, so the thing is, they arrested me because I felt that wasn't my home. I was renting a room there, and I failed to leave. So that's why they arrested me. So basically, the altercation, they arrested me. They had 2 counts of burglary with assault, and they claimed that I broke into the home because I was told to leave, and I failed to leave the home. So after this occurred, I did go to the Palm Beach County Jail, and I was there. When I got to the Palm Beach County Jail, I was cleared and things like that.
Wait, what is I was cleared and things like that? What does that mean?
Yes, I was cleared from the Palm Beach County Jail where I paid a bond.
Okay, so you posted a bond, and what was that bond?
That one was $1,100.
And who posts that bond?
Yes, that was my uncle that posted that.
Right.
bond.
Now, did you use him as a bondsman, the defendant as a bondsman for that first bond?
No, I didn't use him for the first
so
bond.
now you're out on bond on that case, and what happens?
Yes, when I'm out on bond with that case, my public defender called me and told me I had an open warrant because I was released on SOR. Meaning
SOR meaning what?
Supervised official release.
Okay.
When you're on supervised official release, you cannot get in any trouble while your case is
so you
open.
got a new case while on release?
Yes, the first case was the officer when he claimed that I was speeding. That was the first case there, where I was released on SOR.
Okay, stop. You don't get arrested for speeding in the state of Florida. So I'm trying to understand how you got arrested.
No, he's claimed that because I moved the vehicle, I was in a school zone and I was going over the speed limit in a school zone. I did immediately stop, but with an officer, he was a motorcyclist, he told me that I didn't immediate stop. So he arrested me
for fleeing.
Yes, he arrested me
it's not speeding, it's fleeing. Then the new case that you pick, that's your first case?
Yes, ma'am.
The new case that you pick up is the one involving alleged violence?
Yes, that one was the new case that I picked up.
That's when he comes into play. So someone calls him, I know this.
Yes, it was my uncle. And
okay, so your uncle calls him and asks, now originally you have 0 conditions of release, you're not gonna get released. Right. Then a judge sees you and decides that your bond is gonna be $10,100 on 2 different charges, I guess, and that you had to be on house arrest.
Yes,
so both the bond and house arrest.
Yes.
Now, the house arrest means that you have to have a bracelet around your ankle.
Yes.
During the pendency of the case.
Yes.
All right. And so those are the conditions, and those conditions happen on what day?
That was May 21st, yes.
May 21st?
Yes.
Show me what you're looking at, because that's not my
one
understanding
second.
from looking at the evidence, but maybe you've got something I don't
This is the 8 and R's.
While she's looking, let me ask you a question. How long have you been a bail bondsman in Florida?
34 years, Judge.
Okay. So had you ever done business with them before?
I had. What happened originally, what she's trying to convey to the court, was she was picked up for fleeing and eluding. She was speeding in a school zone, allegedly speeding in a school zone. A deputy came up behind her, tried to stop her. She didn't stop. So she bonded, released. Now she's out on bond.
Right.
So now she has an issue with a roommate or a gentleman who said he felt bad. She was living in her car and he wanted to give her a place to stay at night. The next morning, he wanted her out. She wouldn't leave. He called 911. The police show up. According to the paperwork,
Yeah.
She tried to stab the police officer.
The police officer.
And according to the report,
Hold on. She did not hold a knife to the police officer. What it says is, to the left of the stove, I observed a large silver kitchen knife, which one would expect to observe in a kitchen. Due to her demeanor and behavior, because according to this officer, I can't tell if it's a male or a female, this officer says that you were screaming and unruly, that you got into his or her face and continued yelling before aggressively swinging open the door to remove the items you gathered. Loaded her belongings, departed the residence. I told her not to return to the residence. And it turns out you did go back to the residence, even though he told you not to go, he or she told you not to go back to the residence. In any event, the judge sets the bond on what date? That's what she was looking for.
On that one would be the bond we're talking about now
Yes.
is June 29th?
Yes, June 29th. Is that the date you have now?
Yes.
When do you physically, mechanically, whatever, however it is, post the bond?
Yeah, the bond was actually posted the next day.
Digitally? How is it a bond is posted these days?
Good question.
Digitally?
You go to the jail. I didn't physically go to the jail.
No, but how does it work? You still have to go to the jail.
Same thing hasn't changed from
it was ever thus.
back
All
when.
right, so you go to the jail on what day? On the 29th?
30th.
On the 30th.
Yeah, she got the charge. What happens? I think she got picked up in court. The judge remanded her with the $10,000 and the $100 bond. She had to be booked in. Palm Beach County is overburdened sometimes. It takes quite some time to get fingerprints done. She wasn't ready until the next morning, and then the next morning.
Oh, she was probably quite ready that night.
She probably personally was ready, but the jail wasn't ready.
The jail wasn't ready.
Right. So,
and when did her uncle pony up the dough?
I believe on the 29th.
Okay, so the bond is posted, and all that has to happen for her to get out is the rest of the conditions, which is that she needs to get the bracelet.
Now she's forwarded to the custody of in-house arrest or alternative detention services.
Okay. So what happens with that, Ms. Dormius? What happens when, because now the bond is posted, which is, you know, your uncle goes over there, your uncle gives them the money, they post the bond, they're doing everything they're supposed to do, your uncle's doing everything, but you don't get out. Why don't you get out?
Your Honor, when I got into the jail, I immediately did fingerprints. To get into the jail, they have you do fingerprints and things and look at why you're in there.
Yeah, I know why the delay. It wasn't because of fingerprints. The delay was because you couldn't find a house to live in with a landline, right?
No, the delay was it was not posted until the next morning. And that's why I spoke to this gentleman here and telling him that I could no longer do it because, one, I wasn't in the county. But when I told him
What do you mean you weren't in the county?
I don't live in the county. I wasn't living in the county at the moment. You have to live in Palm Beach County to be able to get a house arrest bracelet on your leg in Palm Beach County.
So you realize that you cannot do it living in another jurisdiction. Is that true that you can't do it?
They can do it. They'll GPS it instead of having a landline.
In any event, according to you, you tell him, never mind, we don't want the bond.
Yes, that's immediately after they processed me and changed me into their uniform. I was sitting in a holding cell. Me and my uncle three-wayed this gentleman and told him that we no longer want to do this because, one, I didn't have a landline. One, and the second thing, they didn't tell me anything about a GPS, because, one, you were paying for the monitor. Yes, and I told him this, and he told me, just don't worry about that. You won't need a landline. I'll get you out. You'll be out by 8 o'clock.
On that day?
Yes, I told him.
Did you tell her that?
No, it's impossible. It's 3 or 4 days no matter what with a GPS.
All right, when he says that to you, what do you say? Okay.
I told him, I don't care, I don't want it. It's best for me to wait instead of paying all this money and I won't be out. And I told him I'll just wait and try to contact my public defender before I take any action on paying this.
Yeah, but you say that, but that's not true. Your uncle had already been there and paid him. So it's not, you're not, like you say, oh, it's minutes, but it's not minutes, is it? Because your uncle had already been there and your uncle had already paid him, and then he goes and posts the bond. Is your uncle here to testify?
No. When you're saying
do you have an affidavit from your uncle?
Yes, I do. He signed it online, and the thing is that.
Say that again.
No, he signed. When you're saying an affidavit.
I'm asking, like, do you have anything from your uncle? A letter from your uncle? Anything?
I have the text message between him and the uncle that I have.
Let me see that.
I have the text message in my phone, but I don't have.
Are they your uncle's text messages or yours?
The text message between him and the uncle, and my uncle.
Okay, so you have screenshots of it, you mean?
Yes.
I want to make sure I have everything here, so go ahead and show me the screenshots. Can you do that?
Okay, yes, I can.
All right. So what have we got? Friday, July 1st. The 29th, she's in court. The 30th, you post the bond. He's asking about paperwork. Your answer, because this is where it starts, is they definitely have the paperwork. Do you know she spoke to them? They need to know where she's going to live. Then the next day, he texts you at 4:08, good evening, sir. Did you find any information with her today since I finished speaking with you this morning for Starlia Dormius? So this is July 1st. He's not saying anything about don't post a bond. See, he's asking, when's she going to get out? The normal questions that people ask. When is she going to get out? When is she going to get out? Saturday, July 30th, this is a whole month later, he asks, does the funds go back to my card? So he calls you a month later?
After the bond was discharged. So what happened was...
Okay. So I got it. So what happens is the state doesn't file charges on the 21st day.
No, they did file charges.
They did file charges.
Yeah, her next court date's coming up.
So what happened with the case? Go ahead. You tell me what you say happened.
I'm speculating, but I'm assuming that they're looking at her and saying, look, she did this amount of time. That's probably all she's going to do anyway. We'll release her on another supervisory program and do it that way. We were having problems getting a phone number. All we needed was the phone number.
So what happens during those 20-something days? Like, are you talking to the uncle every day?
No. I thought everything was done. And then probably a couple weeks later, her mother actually called me. So I gave her the phone number to both alternative custody, which is SOR, not SOR, but in-house arrest. And I also gave her the number to AT&T. I said, just give me the phone number. I'll call for you if you want me to call. But
just get a landline.
Just give me the number and she'll be gone. She'll be out. Now, in the meantime, the jail's already taken the number and or taken the bonds and transferred her to the custody of in-house arrest. So I think this is where the problem starts, because even though a person is in custody, they might be in the custody of the federal marshals, Border Patrol, another state, another county, but they're in the same spot in the jail and they don't know it. And I think in this case, this is kind of what's happening.
No, I'm going to tell you what happened. She wants her money back because the bond didn't do her any good because she couldn't get out.
Right.
What I don't know is why.
Right.
But I do know that at some point the prosecutor agrees to just let her out on her own recognizance without having to do the house arrest part.
Right.
Right. So now she feels like, oh, I want my money back on the bond.
Right.
Right.
Welcome back to the People's Court. I'm Harvey Levin. So the question, are bonds refundable if you're found not guilty? Let's go back into the courtroom and find out.
The bond was actually $10,000. The $1,000 you pay him, the $1,100 because of the other charge. The $1,000 that you pay him is how he eats. That's how he feeds his family. That's how he pays his mortgage. That's the charge that the bondsman takes, is a 10% of the whole thing. And then if you skip town, he has to pay the $10,000 ostensibly into the court registry, or his insurance company usually has to pay the $10,000 in. So that's the risk a bondsman takes, that they're going to lose the other money. And so they do their job once they post the bond and take the service fee from you, which is that $1,000. Why would you get the money back?
Wait, the thing is, ma'am, I told him that I did not want it immediately.
Yeah, you're going to have to prove to me when you did that.
Yes, it was over the phone.
No, then that's where our problem lies. You're in jail. You're not making phone calls to your bondsman. You don't have your uncle here. I have no idea when somebody said, but let me tell you what you do have. You have screenshots of texts of your uncle to him on July 1st, and the bond was posted June 30th. So I know for a fact that on July 1st, your uncle was still expecting you to get out. So I know that on July 1st, you had not told him. So this 15 minutes afterwards, we decided we didn't want the bond? No. A couple of minutes, no. A few hours, as soon as I put on my jumpsuit, I learned that, no. None of that is true because I see that from the texts. I think what probably happened, the prosecutor allowed her ROR on what day?
That would be on the 28th of July.
Which ends up being the 21st day.
Right.
So in Florida, there is a law that says that the state, and I know this because I was the state, all right? I was a prosecutor for over a decade.
Okay.
There's a law that says that you either file the charges on the 21st day or there's a preliminary hearing that the defendant is entitled to. I imagine that they filed charges after the 21st day, and then they routinely waive you know what, we'll just let her out on her own recognizance. We still need more time to file the charges. And then they end up filing the charges against you, right?
No, Your Honor.
Did they file charges against you, yes or no?
No, they did not. All my charges.
You do not have pending charges against you?
No. I just still have the open case before with the stopping of the officer.
Right. When did they drop the second case, the one where he posted the bond?
When did they drop the second case? Yes. I went to court on July 14th, and they dropped that case. They gave me OR on all of those.
They let you out on your own recognizance, and they dropped it. According to you, your information is that they didn't drop it.
They did not drop it. She has another hearing coming up.
Okay, one of you two is wrong, but it doesn't really matter for my purposes. It doesn't matter for this case. It really doesn't. The question is that you hired the guy to do something and the guy did it. And you are now saying, I want a refund of the bond. I can see where your uncle says, do I get the money back? And he says, no, you don't get the money back. I did my part of the job.
Okay.
And he's not making that up. He's right about that. He did his part of the contract. He posted your bond. So, yeah, the problem at that point is house arrest. It's not him. He did his part. Somebody has to get a landline. Somebody has to get a Palm Beach house or get permission to not have a Palm Beach house. The verdict in this case is for the defendant.
Thank you, Judge.
Hold on, please.
I just didn't have enough evidence to prove it.
So the plaintiff, who's had her share of bad days, had another one here in the People's Court today. It did not work. She lost the case. Mr. Remus, let me ask you what you're thinking about right now, your reaction to the judge's decision.
I think I'll reopen it and just bring more evidence with me, that's all.
I don't know if you can do that. Anyway, I just want to ask you a quick question.
But the case
How
this
come
gentleman
you've had so
refers
many legal
referring
problems? How come you've had so many legal problems here lately?
to living
Yeah,
with the
you've
wrong
had your
people, yes, I
problems.
understand. But gladly it got dismissed. Maybe you shouldn't call 911 so often for little baby things like arguments.
Listen, thank you. That'll wrap it up for this case. You lost. I'm sorry you don't get your money back, and your exit is on your left. All right? Thank you very much. All right, let's talk to the plaintiff now. Mr. Variola, how do you feel about the outcome of this case? I think you knew you were going to prevail here, didn't you? You really
Yes,
weren't
we
worried,
did.
were you?
It's 10% is never refundable. And once the services are provided, they were provided. And we tried to do everything we could do to help out.
Well, listen, thank you very much. That'll bring this case to a close, okay? We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
So, Doug, look, I mean, the defendant in this case completed all of his obligations. And once you do that, you're in the clear. There is nothing that the defendant did that violated the deal or harmed the plaintiff, and that's why the plaintiff lost.
I've always wondered how you got that scar on your lip. Was it an accident or childhood hijinks? And how about John? Has he had any bad injuries besides his pinky? You know, despite your horribly disfiguring scar, I married you anyway. But why don't you tell us about it? You do have a little scar.
I do have a little scar there, and that was from, I think I was about 8 years old, and I fell off. I was riding on the back of my, with the back or the handlebars, something stupid, with my cousin, and went flying into the cement.
Stitches?
Stitches.
Ew,
Stitches.
Okay. Well, they did a nice job on it.
I remember it very vividly. I was quite awake during the stitches. I don't know why.
Well,
you, on the other hand, have
I've
scars
had a
all
few.
over.
Oh, God, yes. I mean, I remember, let's see, when I was a kid playing ice hockey, my cousin hit me in the forehead right here with a stick and cut me for like 4 stitches. I had about 5 here and
I didn't even notice
across
that one.
there. I had a couple up here on the bridge of my nose. This was a stick. This was an elbow in practice. You know, I dislocated that finger.
Yes, America knows.
Pretty bad. Broke my collarbone in a hockey game.
Did you really?
When I was
That I didn't
17, yeah. And let's see, other than that, you know, I've broken just about every bone on my hands. I mean, my fingers and the metacarpals in here, one time or another.